Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
As I've shared, and many of you know, I have a law degree. I got a law degree from the Ohio State University. Truth be told, I really wanted to go to Michigan. That was my number one school. I applied to Michigan. I applied to Yale. I applied to maybe Minnesota, University of Wisconsin-Madison, and only ended up applying to Ohio State after I had met a young woman over the summertime. Long story. I joke that a woman brought me to Ohio State. A woman kept me in Columbus, and the third woman I married. But anyhow, neither here nor there. I attended the Ohio State University. I got in late. I was waitlisted because I applied late, and I got waitlisted, and so I didn't find out until like June that I had gotten in, and school started in August. So I remember my dad and I literally hopped in the car and drove the 12 hours from Houghton, Michigan to Columbus, Ohio, to find a place to live because the dorms were full at that point. Graduate housing was full. Just had to find a place to live, and ended up finding a place to live. It was 50 East 12th Avenue, which is just east of High Street. On the other side of High Street was the law school. So it really was perfect from a standpoint of logistics. I didn't have to drive to school. I could literally go home between classes and lunch and whatnot. But I didn't have an apartment. It was more of a boarding house. There were 12 of us, and we shared a kitchen, shared a bathroom, but none of us had anything else in common. There were two guys. One guy was in the pharmacy school. Another guy was in engineering school. There was a woman who was in graphic design. It kind of went through, it was just everybody had a different story to them. They were all doing different things at Ohio State. And we all knew each other, and we would converse. And it was interesting. There was a guy down in I was on the second floor, guy down on the first floor. He was from somewhere in the Middle East. I can't remember where, but they would always send him pistachios. I'd go down to his room, and he always had just bowls of pistachios, and sit there and talk to him and eat pistachios. So it was very eclectic. And then I would go to law school, and I had law school friends, and hung out with law students. And the woman who I'd met, who brought me to Ohio State, I guess we were quasi dating. I would see her, and then I had friends from the gym. I'd get up and I'd go early to the gym, and I would work out, and knew people there who were, Ohio State is 50,000 students. I mean, it's just it's a large community with lots of little communities built in, and it's just amazing how diverse one's network would get. And I contrast that if I would have gone to the University of Michigan, if I'd have gotten into the University of Michigan, law students, they have a law quad, and I think students, certainly first year students, they all stay together. Kind of interesting. I guess it kind of sounds neat. You're kind of elbow to elbow with your fellow students. God, I think I would need a break from that, though. I don't know. I needed a break from just being at the law school, but neither here nor there. Just very interesting contrast. I bring that up because I ran across a study that talked about the perks of having a diverse group of friends, having various groups of friends, and what we know, what sociology studies have shown, is that we tend to choose partners who are similar to us. My wife and I were similar in lots of ways. We have similar views on politics. We have similar views on finances. Similar views on the types of house we wanted. Ultimately, the house we wanted. Very, very interesting. Voters, people tend to align with people who have similar personalities with them. Something else that they found. Other studies have shown that people are attracted to potential partners who resemble them in facial appearance. I'm not exactly sure how that works, or how it worked through the ages. We didn't even really know what we looked like until they came up with mirrors. Right? You'd walk around and you'd see other people and like, oh, that's what they look like. That's what they look like. But you wouldn't know what you looked like. You would just know that, wow, that other person looks really good. I have no idea what I look like. I guess you could see a reflection in water, but that wasn't, you didn't always have that luxury. But now that there are mirrors, it's pretty much you see your own mug every day. Um, and so we tend to align with people who are like us. But what they have found is that when we have diverse networks, we're happier. We're just happier people. I think back to my law school experience. In my second year in law school, I went and got an apartment um, with two other law students, and now we didn't have the same classes together or anything like that, but we were all we all started law school together, and we're in the law school. And then ultimately my second year, actually, I got into the business school, so I was in a joint degree program. I don't need to get into all the details. So I had lots of friends in the business school as well. So I had this really eclectic world. There's just lots of different things going on, and to me it was. I can't say I was happier than anybody else, but I was content knowing that I could go from one group to another, and that, okay, I've had enough of the law students. And law school is very much like high school, because you start with the same people. You take, you're set in the same classes. Everybody's going to take property. Everybody's going to take contracts. Everybody's going to take torts or personal injury. Everybody's going to take civil procedure. You're going to take those classes, and that's your whole first year. And maybe constitutional law was another one. Um, and so you're in the same class with the same people, much like junior high. And then when you weren't in class, you would go down and you had a locker and you kept your books in the locker, and then there was a lounge where everybody wanted to hang out at the lounge and, ate and had coffee or popcorn or whatever. And you always hung out with law students. And, for me, it was always nice to kind of get away, and there were people I would run into on campus. And so, again, I can't say that I was happier I can't say I was happier because of it, because I have nothing really to compare it against. But I always knew that there was something nice about that. There was just something nice about, hey, you know what? Friday night I'm going to be going on a date with somebody who's not in law school, or I'm going to be doing this with people who work out with me at the gym. And I wasn't just totally tethered to these particular people. Or I would go back to the boarding house, as I call it, 50 East 12th Avenue, and just hang out with people and have conversations. And it was just always very interesting. This was the um, the mid 80s, and there were people in there who were old enough, going back to school, old enough that they were part of, Vietnam, and hearing stories about they were the tail end of Vietnam, and hearing stories about those sorts of things. And to me, it was comforting. Um, you know, but what we do is we tend to have people who are similar to us. I think the term for it is homophilia. Um, and there are certainly advantages to that. I mean, people coming over and immigrating to this country. My dad lived in a Croatian neighborhood. Um, my grandfather met my grandmother. They were in the same neighborhood, and they got married and lived on the same street with my grandmother's parents. My grandfather's parents were still over in Croatia. And you did that. And now that's all sort of broken apart, at least for our family, but there are still families that are like that. So the lesson in all of this is, I don't know if there's even a lesson in it. I could think it's just really one of those things where it's kind of some awareness that we tend to be attracted to people who have similar views, similar lifestyles, similar looks. There was one study I saw with similar DNA. I don't know how that works. People choose spouses with similar DNA. How do you know? You know, I don't know. I mean, there's something about it. Humans have been on this planet for a long time, and there's a lot of selection and cross selection and so on and so forth. And I think as we've become more of the great melting pot, the whole world has become more and more of the great melting pot. A lot of those things will probably start to fall away. But we tend to be attracted to people who are similar to us, but there is an advantage to interacting with, having people in our networks who are not like us, who are just, they expose us to different things. I'll share this with you. Over the weekend, I took the Greyhound bus. I know people are just aghast at that. I took the Greyhound bus from Columbus, Ohio to Louisville to meet up with my daughter and just ride with her back to Columbus. I've done that a number of times. It's just kind of fun. I can share that. I will drive. She can just relax and we can talk, and we talk about whatever. But I told her, I said, people are, oh, the Greyhound. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm not in fear of anybody on the Greyhound. They're just good people. But it really kind of reminds me of, I really have it good in life. I don't have to take the Greyhound. I get to take the Greyhound. I could have flown down. I could have just drove down and picked her up and then drove her back if I really wanted to, But, being around other people, you start to realize that, okay, yeah, I don't really have it so bad. And I remember my kids coming home in high school and saying, they went to a Catholic high school and they had some retreats, and so they really got to know some of the other kids in their class, and they came to really appreciate their life. Because it's like, yeah, okay, you guys have been strict with us, but we've got this, this, and this, or we're not dealing with this, this, and this. And I think that's, what a diverse network can do for you. And in reverse, as well, you can connect with somebody and realize, okay, wow, they have it good. And this is certainly true in the United States. That can be a new benchmark for you. You know what? I can do that. I can do that. They're not any smarter than me. I just need to work a little harder and get some breaks. So take a look at your network. Look at the people you are close to you. Probably a lot in common, but you also have people in your life who don't have as much in common. And if you don't, maybe think about getting somebody. I don't mean like buying somebody, but just, live in a different world. However that manifests itself, I don't know. But just kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit and learn and meet some people. Have lunch with somebody. But studies show that you'll be happier. You'll have a happier life. You'll have a happier network.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.